a sports fan, but she is a wonderful poet. Really, really wonderful inspired poetry, and we have her blog spot up here. We're going to put that underneath. Now, you've written poetry both in Boston and been inspired, and in San Francisco. Where does your inspiration come? Let's start with San Francisco.
Well, actually, when I moved to San Francisco, that was actually part of the draw too. This whole idea of beat poets, and this was the land of their inspiration, and I was very into poetry. But when I got here, I didn't write nearly as much poetry as I had when I was living on the East Coast, and I think it just had to do with I had more time there to sit and sort of ruminate on things and write these things out, whereas here I was so kind of caught up in my own narrative that I wasn't writing it down.
You have voices in your head? Is that a narrative?
I definitely have voices in my head, yes.
And so do they write the poetry, or do you write the poetry?
That's a good question. Well, there's definitely characters in my poetry.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take, maybe a life experience, a true life experience, and recast it a few degrees, and make it into a character's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a bit of me in there somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you've actually brought two poems. Mary's brought a poem that was inspired by Boston and a poem that was written in San Francisco. So I think that you should read one of them, and we'll try to guess. Well, since you're not going to be able to call in, I'll try to guess which one it came from. So take it away, Mary, whichever one you'd like to start with.
Well, these are not complete.
Okay.
This is just an excerpt. But the title of this is going to actually give it right away. It's because it's called Sea Lavender Fog.
Okay. I'm not really getting it yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the valley filled with cold mist invaded my delicate dreams, enveloped the city in a soft vapor, the olive-colored trees sloping.
Beautiful. Okay, I'm guessing. I'm just guessing because the fog coming down. I don't know Boston's temperature, but I would guess that's San Francisco.
That is San Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah, and the valley is Noe Valley. Actually.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
So that was actually a poem about a man living in Noe Valley who has this idea that there's this woman living in Twin Peaks
Mm-hmm.
that's constantly looking down and watching him all the time. It's a bit of a delusion. And so he gets quite obsessed with it. And she eventually moves to Noe Valley, and he believes it's because he's there. But that's actually not true, so it kind of, part of the poem reflects that.
Is that woman you? I mean, you have a little part in every poem.
Well, I've never lived in Twin Peaks.
Have you been spying on people in Noe Valley from Twin Peaks?
No, I've never lived in Twin Peaks. I've been up there.
Okay.
As you know.
Yes, you have. See, Mary and I have been partners in crime for many years. Not literally, actually.
Well, it's debatable, but yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. So, okay, give us one from Boston just so we can kind of get the difference in the feel.
Okay, so this one's called The Dream Machine. And, okay, the snow is falling. It's so cold. We're flying, but our wings are old. With each cold flake that hits our skin, we think about the trouble we're in.
Interesting. And that's another really big thing you're talking about is the difference in seasons.
Seasons, yeah.
We don't really have seasons here.
No. Well, aside from, the rainy season.
That's true.
But
much more mild.
But there's a really distinct 4 seasons in New England.
Does that inspire you because of the autumn leaves and the snow? I've heard of these things.
It does. Well, I mean, in the fall, you sort of start to write about this impending winter, and I think there's a William Blake poem or something that talks about this idea of winter's like a tiger, coming to get you. So there's always that anxiety kind of about winter coming that can be inspirational.
Now, you have a blog spot that we put up here. How many poems do you have up, or what have you done with this space?
Well, there's a lot up there. There's probably over 600 poems up there.
Very good, and they're all at your access to read that.
Yes, yes.
It's put up right underneath. We'll get that up there.
Yeah,
and go ahead.
Red's It's called redsfarmstand.blogspot.com. It's just a regular blog, and that the title comes from. I'm making up my own questions, actually.
Okay, that's okay. You know, wait a minute. Where does the title come from? I'll just leave. Okay, I'll leave you.
No, wait, you're controlling the camera.
That's okay.
Yes, I am. Well, I used to take the train to work every day when I worked in downtown Boston, and I would pass this Red's farm stand. So I had this idea that this man was working there and writing poetry, and so I kind of became him and started to write poems through that venue. But it shifted a lot since that. But I mostly wrote the poems on my way, to and from work. So that's where it all started.
Because you actually, you have quite a vivid imagination, and I think that's why you probably belong in San Francisco. Not that Bostonians didn't have, is that how you say it, Bostonians?
Yes. Yeah,
Bostonians don't have clear and vivid imagination, but your character lends you to San Francisco. And are there places in San Francisco, because so many artists have said that they come here, a lot of them, and say that it's really hard to focus and be creative and work because there's so many things to do. And it's so beautiful most of the time you can go out. So is that difficult for you?
That is absolutely true. And I think that's what I was trying to convey with this idea. I wrote less poetry while I was here, but I took more photographs. So it became more visually interesting to me and less of poetic inspiration, although I did still write poetry while I was here. So yeah, I can totally understand that. People come here with a reason, and they kind of get caught up in everyday life.
And they get friends like me that drag you out and make you go places. We have a lot of places. The second half of the show, at the end of the show, we're going to be talking about San Francisco and some of the fun and yummy places that we've been to and that we're going to. We can start off with tonight. We have a really fun place tonight that we're going. You want to tell them a little bit about?
That's right. Well, it's a benefit show for the Bay Bridge, and there'll be a local artist, John Vanderslice, who's going to be playing along with some of his associates.
I've heard of him before. Now, what group is he with? Is it his?
He performs under his own name. Yeah.
Okay. And he'll be there?
He'll be there, and there's going to be food. I think Bi-Rite Market's involved somehow, so it's going to be fun.
Oh, yes, Bi-Rite, which brings us to a passion of yours.
That's a good segue. That's right, my obsession with Bi-Rite creamery.
And sharp as a tack, she's playing with her jewelry. She's putting up her hair. She's touring the facility and picking up slack. I want a girl with a short skirt and a long jacket.